All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for another video. My name is Dalton Schwenker. Today, we're going to be doing something kind of fun. We're going to be running through a data project from basically downloading the CSV or the Excel spreadsheet that has all the data in it. And then we're going to find a storage solution and then be able to do dashboarding from that storage solution. There's a little bit of a twist. We're going to be using what I would consider like a legacy pipeline or a legacy system for this. And there are a couple reasons I'm choosing to use what I'm using. So today we're going to be using Microsoft Access. And I know Microsoft Access is kind of on its way out the door. It's been on its way out the door for a number of years now. A lot of better options for relational database management systems, my Microsoft SQL Server, tons of other options as well. Access is also an application maker, so it's really been replaced on that front by like Microsoft Power Apps, which I don't have a ton of experience with Power Apps yet. That's something I'd like to learn, but the reason I wanted to talk about Access today and why I think it could be a really good thing for you to learn is there are still a lot of companies that use Access. As much as it's an old system, an old software, a lot of companies still use it, especially smaller ones. And if you have the knowledge, you can be the one to push for the update or like pushing them into the future and getting on board with the newer, better solutions. And in doing so, and taking on a project like that is a great, great thing to be able to say and put on your resume. Um, there's always those questions in interviews that are like, tell me about a project that you worked on that you had, you really liked the results, or they'll say, tell me about a project you worked on where you ran into some hurdles and how'd you like overcome those? And you would have answers to all of those questions with a project like that. So I think learning Access in 2022 is still viable, and I still think you probably should because, like I said, a lot of companies still use it, and like it or not, it's still here. So we're going to jump in today, and I just want to get started without kind of taking up too much more of your time. I'm going to switch to the punched in, more depth of field camera for the stream, and we are going to get started. And I'm going to just show you kind of where I'm at in this already, um, and we'll go from there. So jumping over to the screen share now. Wow, my stomach is rumbling because I'm hungry, so we're gonna have to get through this. I don't intend for this to be a really long stream. It's gonna be as educational as possible, and we're gonna run through some stuff pretty quickly. I'm also gonna use some I guess you could call it cheating. We're gonna use ChatGPT to help write a VBA script because I don't feel like coding the whole thing. And it's going to save us a lot of time. And we might as well because ChatGPT is free to use and you're more than welcome to use it on any of your projects. And I highly encourage it, especially for redundant coding that you don't need to write anymore because you can just type it in there and proof it real quick and then send it. Especially good for like VBA because if you don't use VBA often, you kind of forget some of it. So yeah. All right. So where I'm at, I downloaded some data from Earth Data, NASA's website. Never saw this website until today, but it is very cool. Highly recommend going to check out some stuff on there. And I downloaded, we're going to be using this one. And this is ugly. I should have like cleaned this folder up a little bit, but we're going to be using this one here. It's Trends Major Air Pollutants from 2003 to 2018. And just quickly want to open up this file. And it came as an Excel worksheet file. So just wanted to throw that out there. This is what it looked like. Had a title page, about method, data sources. Has a data dictionary, which is really helpful. Kind of details and explains what all these tables are. Now, Each sheet is a separate table. So we have population, the country code, the country, and then the dates go across the top here, and then, what the population was. Honestly, just visualizing this would be kind of fun. But it also goes into detail on, weighted population exposure to, like this first one is, I think, carbon monoxide. Yep, carbon monoxide exposure, weighted average to ground level volatile organic compounds. I'm not going to spend a ton of time like trying to understand what all these are, but if you were doing this for like research purposes and you were probably going to publish something afterwards, you would definitely want to fully understand the domain and the problem and what you're trying to maybe essentially solve, or who you're presenting this to so they can make decisions to hopefully, fix an issue that you see. But I want to talk now about the structuring of this. There's a couple different ways we could do this. There's not a ton of data in here. There's 217 rows essentially in all of these sheets. At least there should be. That's not a lot of data. This file is really small. It's like 600 kilobytes. So you could just go to Power Pivot and select this and then add to data model. You could do that for all these, add them all to the data model, and then delete the sheets, and then you'd have all that data in the background. You could do your pivots, all that stuff. But since today I wanted to demonstrate a legacy system like Access, I wanted to just quickly go through how you could load something like this into Access. And then from there, we'll use a Power Query to connect to the Access database, and then we can do our dashboarding and such. So this part today, I want to focus on getting this loaded into Access, and then getting that organized so that then we can do the dashboarding. And that's probably going to be in part 2 of this stream. The dashboarding is the pretty fun part. So, but this is a reality. You have to do this piece. This data is really clean. I don't think there's a ton of like nulls and stuff like that. But we will do like column profiling and things like that after we've made the connection to the database. So the first thing I need to do is get all of these sheets into their own tables in my Access database. I know I don't want these first, let's see, 4. I'm going to go ahead and delete these first 4 tables out of here. And what else? Let's see what we have left here. I think these are all good, actual data. Yeah. So I'm going to resave this sheet now. And what I could do is I could open up Access, right? And I could come over here and go external data from file, Excel file, and I would have to go through each sheet. It would take quite a while to do, and I really don't feel like doing that. So instead, let me delete this module. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Database Tools. We're going to open up Visual Basic, and I'm going to insert a new module. And we're going to use ChatGPT, and I actually already generated this prompt. So essentially what I asked ChatGPT is, write me a VBA script I can execute from my Access database that will iterate through this Excel workbook, and then I pasted in the path to it, and load each sheet into Access as a new table. So here's what it's going to do. We're going to dim Excel application, Excel workbook. So for these, we're going to need to go into the object library and create a reference to the Excel object. Super simple to do. We can do that. We're going to open Excel application, navigate to the workbook. We're going to create a new table in Access database with the name of the Excel sheet. So we're do command run SQL select into table underscore. This is interesting. This is a different way of doing this than I've done in the past, but this might work pretty well actually. Okay. To use the script, you'll need to have Microsoft Excel Object Library referenced. We mentioned that. We already know how to do it. To run the script, go to the VB editor. Um, yeah, that's all good. Copy, paste. Man, that just saves so much time. It's incredible. So we need to go to Tools, References, and we need to make our Excel reference here. Microsoft. Am I going crazy or I passed the E's, but external item picker. Oh, off. Wait, is it under Microsoft Office? Am I going crazy? Oh. Oh, you know what? I was experimenting before this. Um, I already clicked it. So this is what you would need to do though. Microsoft Excel, Object Library, whatever version you have, and you just want to make sure that's selected or it won't work. So we're gonna save this as import, and I've pointed straight to the path. There's a couple ways you could handle that. You could have it open up the file system and you could navigate to the workbook, click it, and then it would, capture the path at that point. You could have a user input box where it pops up and it says, please enter your file path. And then you would just, copy paste your file path. We're doing this once. We're loading this in. I'm not going to use probably this import function anymore after this. So I'm okay with hard coding the path in there. I know that seems like kind of a gross thing to do from a coding perspective, but we're using this one time. I'm not expecting to have to reload. Now, if you were gonna need to do this over and over and over again, there are a number of other ways that would be better to do this, but we're not going to be doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and just click play on this, and I'm going to let it do its thing. And I wish I would have kind of cleared this out of the way so we could see a little bit better. But now there is one thing I'm worried about throwing an error. There were some special characters on the sheet names, and I don't think Access likes that too much. But I'm not sure what characters it constitutes as special characters that it doesn't want to import. I did see some periods, parentheses, stuff like that. So we might not get any errors, but if we do get an error, it's probably related to that. Can we just take a second to understand how cold it is right now? It's -1 degrees. So, and it was -5 this morning, so disgusting. I'd like it to open up Access so I could see. I'm kind of surprised this is taking as long as it is because these are not large files. Almost makes me wonder if it's hung up. We are doing command run SQL. We're selecting all into table. And we're selecting from. It's very cool that you can do this. I didn't know you could do that from, Excel database and Excel workbook full name. I've never done that before. It's really unique. I've used a similar thing in Access previously where um, I was given reports that were formatted the same every single month. Obviously had different data in it, but format was the same. And I used a VBA script that would iterate through and a folder and import any new files that weren't already loaded into the table. But I did it a different way. I didn't use a SQL command for it. I just did, I think the AC import command which imports, a sheet into a table. But this I like quite a lot because it bypasses the need to, well, I didn't use a temporary table in that, I guess, because I figured a different way to do it. But this is nice. It's you don't need to use a temporary table. It puts it straight in for you. Um, I mean, if it's working, I don't know. I wish I could have had this open, but I don't think it's gonna show until it's like done. But I really do think it's hung up on something. It shouldn't take this long. I hit escape. I guess if nothing. It's so locked up, it's ridiculous. I guess in the meantime, while we're waiting, we can do a little like overview of what this is going to look like. So we had our spreadsheet. We're loading into Access. From this point, Access is going to be like our like what's the word for it? I'm trying to think of it. Um, like source of record. That's our data. Like we're going to connect to that to get all this data. Um, it's our source of record, and we'll then connect via Power Query to that access in those tables, and we will do some column profiling to make sure we're not missing any values. Should we need to do any data cleaning, we'll do it at that point. I really just want to store the raw data in Access, and we'll do everything else after that. Any Excel dashboarding will be done through that method. Wow, is this really still frozen? What is going on? There's no way it would take this long. Am I going to have to kill Access? I think I'm going to have to kill Access. Oh. Wow, I have a bunch of instances of Excel open, which is weird. Yeah, and I broke it just now because it was doing that. Did it load anything in though? It didn't load a single thing in. I'm wondering if it was open or something. Nice. It's read only now. This is why I had copies earlier, because it was opening and then crashing and then gave me a different one. So we're now on copy of copy of copy. I'm gonna throw the new path in here. Backspace, backspace. Okay, we've got the copy in there. We're gonna save that. I'm gonna open this, make sure there's no pop-ups or anything. We're gonna enable editing. I'm gonna save. Theoretically, this should work. I should add, oh man, I should have added some debug code in. That would be nice. You're about to paste 216 rows into a new table. Wow, I'm just gonna do this for every single one. That's okay. I apologize, guys. I should have turned the warnings off. Ooh, here we go. Invalid character or special character. This is gonna be a problem. So essentially, it started to load in. Whoa, that's huge. It's loaded in some of them, but not all of them. I'm gonna delete them. And the reason it's done so, I hope it didn't leave it open again. It's gonna leave it open again. I know it. Wow. I gotta change this here. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna need to go into here. I think we're gonna have to get rid of any special characters. There'd be an easier bulk way to do this. But I don't. Spatial, it's really just these, I think these characters here, which hopefully I still know what that is. Once, that should do them all. All right, I need to turn off warnings. How can I turn off the pop up for inserting the rows? Yeah, I thought it was just set warnings equal to false. I'm just gonna copy that. We need to do that here. Set warnings to false. I'm just going to do it at the top. There's no need to do it there. And then once we get down here, we'll set warnings to true. Okay. It's closed. Okay. Now it should load them in, and I shouldn't get a pop-up each time. Table PM is not a valid name. It got hung up on that one again. I wonder why. And I'm gonna have to make another copy. This is such an ugly way to do this. I can simply adjust this code if I wanted to do that, but I'm not, because it should work. I'm curious though why it keeps getting hung up on that one. I should just have it like skip that file if it does that again. Oh, it's here. It doesn't like the... I think it's the periods that it doesn't like. I'm almost positive it was the period. Are we gonna get through it this time? Oh, we got through it. Thank you. Okay, thank you, import script. We're done with you. Sorry, that was really long and disgusting, and now we have copies of copies of copies, and these are all locked, and I can't delete them until I restart my computer. So that's lovely. Well, actually, that's not true. I could just, I should probably do this anyway, because there's going to be like 5 versions of Excel open, probably. Oh, no, just one. I should actually be able to delete them, though. Nope. Nope. It's weird that it won't let me even though that... Okay, well, anyway, not too worried about it right now. So we've got them loaded in here. They're in... We've got all of our tables, and yeah, so that's really what I wanted to do. We have loaded them in. We've got our headers in here. If you wanted to make adjustments to data types, you could do so here. F20. I wonder what. Is that an empty column? Interesting. It's an empty column. Anyway, yeah. So I'm just gonna leave the import script. So now that we have all of these in here, I'm just going to show you briefly. This is going to be more for part 2, but briefly what we're going to be looking at here. So what we'll be doing is we'll be going to get data from database and then access database. And once this loads up, we'll go documents, sensor data. Earth Data Project import. Almost forgot what it's called for a second. Uh, ah. Oh, you know what? We might get burned on this right now because it's gonna think that was weird. You can have it open. I'm not sure why it gave me that message. Oh, probably because the processor is still trying to run. You can have an Access database open and you won't get that error. I've done it many times. So it must have been from all of our failed attempts at the VBA script. They were probably still trying to run in the background. So now we can use this to import any of our data. If I just wanted to import, let's just do the population data. It's really simple. I'll click on the table, and by the way, you can also select multiple at the same time if you want to do a bulk load. I'm going to click table population, and I'm going to click transform data. Here is where you could do any cleaning you wanted to do, if you wanted to isolate stuff. As you can see here, there's a bunch of null rows for some reason. So F20 to like the end. Also, you probably don't have this by default, the distribution up here. I turn all this stuff on the view tab. Monospace allows you to see spaces easier. I've been burned in the past with creating pivot charts, and I'm so confused why data is not pulling in. Turns out there's a space in front of one of the category names, and that's why it's showing as blank or whatever it is. So that really helps. Show white space also is for that exact thing, helping you identify that. Column quality is just these three dots appear, valid, error, or empty. Column distribution shows you distinct, unique values. And my favorite is column profile. Very cool thing you can use here. Before I go any further, though, we can see that these are 100% empty. So I'm just going to remove them. Awesome. And column profile, I'm going to show you what it does now. If I click on 2003, we can see the value distribution here is not going to really be much of a help, but we've got column statistics here. So we have account, there's 216 columns, 216 of them are unique, meaning no two of them have the same number, which would be crazy if they did because this is very specific. Also, I'm a little curious on the decimal for population. I always find that interesting, but I know census data is kind of interesting to begin with. Shows the min, the max, average. I guess if we wanted to actually get, why can't I think you can also copy this too, or copy this and it would give you the data based on that. What would be more handy here is if we did like a group by and like put them in buckets, but not super worried about that. Column profiling is really just to get a quick view of the data and make sure. So like if I clicked on country and I saw that there were, so there's 216 rows. If I saw that there were 210 unique countries, that would tell me that there were some duplicates and I would need to investigate that a bit further. Or if I saw some empty in this column, I would need to investigate further. Column profiling, I spend a good amount of time here because you want the data to be accurate. And if it's not accurate, then everything that comes afterwards is pointless. So you really want to profile your data, make sure it's okay, make sure it's what you're expecting. Anything you're not expecting, you want to look into. But for the sake of this, this data set is really clean. I mean, usually you don't have data sets this clean, so I just had to delete a few columns. And if you've never used Power Query before, it's pretty cool. You can skip back to your previous steps. So the columns are all here. If I go here again, you can see what I deleted. You could also calculate custom columns. So just quickly, if I wanted to multiply 2003 by 2004, you could do that very quickly. Like adding columns, custom column. You could just select the two like this, standard multiply. It gives you that multiplication column over here on the side. A lot of cool stuff you can do. I'm ready to load this. Oh, there's a little happy face. Never seen that before. Um, so I'm going to load this. You could load this into its own sheet and the table would be there. The better solution though is loading it to the data model because it's on the back end and it's a little bit cleaner and quicker. So we're going to close and load two, and then we'll get this pop up. We're going to only create a connection, and we're going to add this data to the data model. And queries and connections pane will pop up. We'll get a little spin. 216 rows loaded. And you'll notice there's no table on the sheet here. It's because it's in the data model. So if we go to manage data model, it's all here. Very cool. And in here, you can, make your changes. You can summarize by. You can do a bunch of different things. If you have multiple tables, you can click on this little diagram here. And this is a really important pane, and we're gonna probably get into this later. This is where you can create relationships. So if we had say we had a relationship table that had all of the countries in it, we would simply drag them to, like if I wanted to show two different variables from two different tables, but both under the same countries, we'd have that country table and you would drag this to the country, drag the other one to the country, and then in your pivot chart, you would use that relational table, that country table, to pull in your categorical values. Wow, I can't say that word. And then you're able to kind of view things that way, and it's very nice. So that's really going to do it for part one of the stream. The next part, we're going to get into loading more of these into the data model and doing some visualization and some dashboarding, as well as some ideas for future ways to handle this data and just some other use cases as well. So that's going to do it for this. Like I said, stay tuned for part two. That one's going to be the kind of the more fun part, I would say. The pretty visualizations and whatnot. So, yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.